photoshopped in.
You don't need to worry about this one. He's already been exposed to it. He's mine.
Oh, good.
He gets enough of that at home already, yeah.
I'm just photoshopping everything in.
It's Christine. I would say everybody's name as they come in, but I don't know everybody.
Sorry, we don't know all of you. We know a few people. We don't know everybody.
Otherwise, we would announce when you walk in the room.
Okay, you know friends, you know.
It's Harry in the back. I don't know if you're Harry, but you are now, I guess.
I should go.
Beard grow.
That's your new
Go by Harry from now on.
Are we scaring you off, Heather? You look like you're leaving.
No, I just because she doesn't like to sit still.
Oh, okay. Fully understandable.
Well,
That's okay.
we already have another baby in the back, so there's competition.
Yeah, I
and
didn't feel so bad.
Feel free. We don't care if they cry or do anything.
Welcome to
Yeah.
the Signal Life crash.
Yes. This is going to go down painfully.
If they cry, just pretend it's like the Reaper's lair.
Yeah.
This is nice. It's all icy coffee.
Got another couple of minutes. You ready to start, guys?
Have you never had iced
Andy's
coffee
having his
before?
first iced coffee.
Thank you,
Really?
too.
You've never had iced coffee before?
We don't use ice in Europe.
You guys are doing
You
this.
don't use ice in Europe. They don't even have
I
it. They don't even know what
we
ice
gave
trays
you
are.
like tarmac and TVs and telephone and all kinds of stuff, and you gave us iced coffee. It's great.
Don't you still use like horses and carriages over there too? I mean, isn't everything just Downton Abbey?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope we get the internet soon.
Yeah, that whole internet thing was really
He
good for
also
us.
knows having to send your edits by
The into what
is
now?
really difficult.
We hope you get the internet soon.
Okay.
Horse-drawn Wi-Fi. That's good.
You
I'd like to see how that works.
steampunk thing in there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
apparently England's like steampunk utopia.
Wi-Fi.
No, you're
I
true.
can imagine now.
No, the bandwidth's really good. It just, just the horse can pull quite a lot. It's just it's a latency issue that takes a couple of minutes for it to get there.
The wheel just keeps spinning.
ooh, yeah.
All right.
It's time
Oh, okay. I guess we should. Are we starting? Oh,
One more second.
One more
oh okay.
Almost live on the interwebs.
Oh, we're gonna be live. Oh,
To
that.
the cart behind the horse.
Okay.
What we're doing over here is we're streaming audio, and if you look on your on the disc, there should be alphabet.
Information being tweeted.
Oh.
I have to
Tell everyone.
type all that in.
Oh,
This is-
alphageekradio.com.
And this will be recorded as well, so
If you want a copy, come see me after.
final episode, though, right?
Yeah.
Final live.
Final
That's
live.
right. This is it.
10 years later.
10 years.
Yeah. Wow. It has been that long.
Language.
Sorry.
That's a good introduction. 10 years, holy shit.
I will endeavor not to swear too much. I'm just not used to it.
It's been a long time since Kara and I have been on the show. So.
It has been a long time since we have, like a couple of years, right?
It's
not a what?
I'm trying to type this in, and I got first it went E. And then aloha geek. So,
Aloha geek. Aloha.
my fingers.
What
And
are you doing?
You're discovering interesting new websites.
She's trying to actually like.
I'm trying to follow the directions on the piece of paper.
She's trying to be a good.
We're good, guys.
Oh, we are. Okay. Who's driving this damn thing?
You are.
No. Really? Oh, Andy is.
Yeah.
Not her.
Yeah, apparently. So Les, do you want to kick off the
Sure, why not?
producer's grade?
You are listening to The Signal, Season 10, Episode 4, live show at DragonCon 2014. I'm Les.
And I'm Carrie.
Oh, I'm Anna.
I'm Craig.
I'm Andy.
I'm Kara.
That makes me Kevin.
Wow, if I had known this was the reaction I was going to get, I would have announced myself all over the con earlier.
So for our regular listeners, you may notice we have some familiar faces from seasons past.
Faces?
faces, well, voices.
My
There
voice
are
is too pretty
people
for
here
radio.
who can see our faces, so it is perfectly legitimate to say that.
Yeah, but for 10 years it's been audio.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, familiar voices. So we have Kevin, Kara, and Anna.
Oh, did you forget for a second? Kevin, Kara, and that woman down the street.
That one
live
down there.
like
Because
a
I
mile from
stuttered.
her.
What's her damn name?
Can we be explicit, please? Who have kindly, yes, agreed to come back and help us with our show. Fuck off. Editor, please do that.
Cue cards for Carrie for those listening to audio.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Stop talking now. All right.
Okay, so
We figured that with this being 10 o'clock Monday morning at Dragon Con, but a better time than this to learn some Chinese.
Yes. Welcome once again to How to Speak Chinese, the language course which teaches you Mandarin using only that which is found in Firefly and Serenity. It's so enjoyable to be here giving a lesson once again to the live audience here at Dragon Con. We'll have one more episode of How to Speak Chinese in our regular podcast, but I thought I'd give a short lesson which I know you all can manage. This lesson centers on the new Firefly board game and a couple of Chinese words that appear as characters in the Chinese writing system known as Hanzi. These words appear in the game in two places. The characters are written in a green circle and have similar meanings but are slightly different. The first character appears under the cards which represent the jobs that a player undertakes. This is the ideograph for hua, which means words or language. So this has to do with the ability to talk your way through a deal. Try it. Repeat after me. Hua. 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 That wasn't very satisfying. Let's try that one more time. Hua. 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 Oh, very, very good. The second character appears on the cards representing the crew members themselves. This is who. Try it. Repeat after me. And really try to repeat after me. Who. 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 Oh, that's much better. After several years, I think you're getting to the hang of some of these. Now, we've had hua and hu. Before I hear any references to Abbott and Costello, I'd like to remind you this is a serious pedagogical exercise. Thank you. Hu is a word root or morpheme, which can compose such words as mistake or confusion. The verb shuo means to speak, so when you combine these words into hu shuo, it means to talk nonsense or speak drivel. Yes, that's right, it refers to a character's negotiating skills. Saffron, for example, has very high negotiating skills, but not as high as Inara's. I just have one more phrase. Think of it as a reward for participating. Here it is. This is long da hui. We'll put it in pieces that you can digest. Da hui. Da hui. Long. Long. Long da hui. Long da hui. That means Dragon Con. Thank you very much. Until next time, 再见.
Craig, I love how nice you were about telling us that we suck when we tried that the first time.
Politeness is very important.
You're so polite.
You know, Craig, your voice, it just makes me go weak in the knees whenever I hear it. It's so hard sitting next to you.
Well, it's good that you're sitting down there, isn't it?
What happens at cons stays at cons.
It's true. I think that's like a golden rule or something.
Well, coming up next. Oh,
You can go.
okay, I'll do this.
Oh, is it me?
I'll fix this.
I'll-
No.
No, it's not me.
I'll just explain the power to carry. It's fine. Let's just keep going.
There's some
Anna
paper
is going to
travels.
bring us up to date with a Where Are They Now?
So, I don't know how many of you listened to Diary of a Companion when I was on the Signal. That was the show I wrote for the show. The segment I wrote for the show. That makes more sense. Anyway, one of the things that is so fun about writing that is kind of thinking about where the characters are now. At the end of the series, they were Carly, the main companion. I guess I should find out how many of you are actually familiar with Diary of a Companion. Okay, all right, that's good. All right, so a few of you. I never know.
Anyone
Anyway.
with curry familiar with?
What's that?
Just checking it for you.
Yeah.
Any crew? Listen to that. But it's kind of fun to think about where the characters are now. And one of my favorite characters to write was Lydia, and it was because she was so precocious and just really. I always thought that if I was going to write another series about companions, I would write about Lydia because I knew she was going to be interesting and she was going to have an interesting life. But I really see her as having become a high priestess in the guild, and really going on to be one of those companions that get written down in the history books as somebody who was diplomatic and had influence and just was amazing. And so that's kind of where I see her now. And yeah, I guess I could say that Carly and Foster did end up together because that was kind of obvious. Yes, obviously I was going there, but it took a while to get there. I'm sorry, I'm really not prepared. It was really hard for me to think of where they would be because I wasn't sure how much time had passed and all this. But I really, it's really. I love that series. I'm just gonna kind of talk, I guess. I really
Go for it.
I love it. It's one of my most favorite things that I've ever written, and I really approached it from the perspective of we have Yosaf Bridge, and she did not come from money. I don't know if you can tell she kind of had a hard scrabble life, and somehow she got trained to be a companion. We don't know how that happened. We don't know that process, but Carly was kind of the what would happen if somebody who did not come from a wealthy family, who did not come from a family with influence, went into training to become a companion. And so Yosaf Bridge was really the inspiration for that, and Carly was kind of the nicer Yosaf Bridge in my mind. She was not as I will cut you first. So that's kind of where that went, and that's where Carly came from. And so, but all the characters really were really a lot of fun to write. It was just a great series to write. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm sure you haven't thought about this series in a while, so don't feel obligated. But otherwise, I'm just gonna ramble. Anyway, yeah. So, any of you guys have questions? Because
I guess this is not a question for you.
Okay.
But about this is one of the ones that we have up as a standalone series, right? Available for direct download?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you would like to go back and listen to it from beginning to end, you have the opportunity to do that.
Without all that other annoying Signal content.
Yes, exactly. Just me. And it was me and Miranda who did the voices. Miranda, I thought, would be a perfect choice to do the young Carly, and she did such a great job. The first time she read for it, I was like, nope, that's it. That's the voice of Carly when she's young. That's it. So that was really easy when it happened. I had always, when I was writing it, I kind of heard Miranda's voice while I was writing it, but I didn't want to assume that she wanted to take on the role of something she would have to, be committed to, So I put it out to who would like to read this, and when Miranda spoke up, I was like, yes, that's great. That's what I wanted. So it was a lot of fun, actually. I will be honest, I go back and listen to it because I just am so proud of it, and so it's exciting to me that so many people enjoyed it, and it's really like I said, it's one of my most favorite things that I've written. It's really proud of it. Yay!
Awesome.
It's okay, sir. You can come and sit down.
We don't like it.
Okay.
So let's thank what's her name at the end.
Anna.
I mean, apparently her name is Anna, according to my cheat sheet. One of the best series we've done, and so thanks for chatting about it. Coming up next, we have our news from Kara.
Okay. Hi. Good morning. This is morning news from BSNN, Blue Sun News Network. I'm Kara Helgren, obviously. The threat level on Ariel has been raised from vermilion to taupe this morning over concerns of black market beagles flooding the planet. Fears the threat level could be raised to grape are being actively squashed by the local government. No word yet on how local animal shelters are preparing for the possible influx of annoying little dogs, but small children are already bugging the crap out of their parents. A recently developed terraforming technology is making its way up a new market street. The fish cannon, which comes with a variety of attachments, has seen demand tail off in recent months in the wake of that whole Miranda Planet thing. Planet Depot, a subsidiary of Blue Sun Corp, is hoping it will make a big splash in the water feature and as seen on the Cortex markets. No word on if the trout trebuchet will follow. 5 new species of flying monkey were discovered on the planet Whittier by researchers this month. When asked how this could affect her plans to get Dorothy and her little dog too, the Wicked Witch of West Whittier had no official comment. Unofficially, she cackled like a total creep. The newest CEO of Blue Sun Snacks is already under fire from the Alliance Food and Drug Administration over the popular Fruity Odie bar. A recent random screening by the AFDA found a high concentration of body parts per million, far exceeding the administration's daily recommended allowance. However, in a recent taste test by the Reviewers United to Eat People, or REAP, the Fruity Odie bar still came out at number 1. This has been your morning news from the Blue Sun News Network.
Okay, this is where it was all going to go wrong, isn't it?
It's totally going to go wrong. I'm sorry, but I went through that a little fast. I will say the fish cannon, 5 new species of flying monkey, were all real. Those are things that I got from Real News. So you can now buy your very own. Well, you can't buy your own fish cannon, but
You get a salmon cannon though.
it was a salmon cannon. Yeah, specifically for salmon. They might come out with a trout trebuchet later. I don't know. I'm sure they'll come out with a whole marketing line, is my guess, where you have, like, say, the salmon cannon, the trout trebuchet, maybe a flounder flapper. I don't know.
The coho catapult.
Ooh.
The coho catapult.
Coho catapult, yes. A coho catapult would also be, it could be a whole fish flinging line.
Because nothing's better than flung fish.
It's true.
Tenderizes it perfectly.
You can have
Right.
a battered flying fish.
Battered flying fish. It's already bad. Nobody else. No. Okay. It's just
Lamp for that.
what? That was awful. Wow.
No, I think now we've hit that level, it would be a perfect time to move on to the...
Oh God. See, these were. I told you these jokes were all untried. I didn't try them on anybody.
I thought they were.
They were very trying,
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah.
I tried them. I tried one on a guy in line at Starbucks, but
The fish
He
cannon?
was-
A little bit.
He was trapped.
no, it was. I tried the Blue Sun Snacks on him. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he couldn't go anywhere.
you
had
know,
to
he
stand
couldn't. He was very polite.
Much like our audience here.
It was sort of
doors
a,
are locked.
oh, that was funny. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. all right, now it's time. Sorry, now it's time to move
I
on.
did hear a couple people out there laugh. So.
Oh, thank you to those couple of people who laughed.
And if you come see us at the end, you'll get paid, as agreed.
Yeah, don't worry, you get your nickel back.
Just get your nickel back for all the right reasons.
Yeah. Okay, now it's really time.
Quick, move on.
We have a dramatic presentation entitled Plan A, written by Jill Arroway.
So I just said, before we start the play, just make you aware, there are some scripts out amongst you, so if you haven't got one, try and find one with some words on, because it might be useful. And also there will be some special effects required during this production. As you can see, I've gone to great expense to prepare. So when you see these things, like crash, you have to make like a crashy type noise. We'll fix this in post-production, it'll be fine. Yeah. I'm not quite too sure how we're going to do tape noise, but, you know, it's all good. It's all good.
You folks are creative. You'll come up with something.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Go on.
Okay, so I can go now?
Yeah. Go.
Sure.
Okay. Plan A, written by Jill Arroway, starring Kevin Batchelder as Malcolm Reynolds, Craig as the operative, Carrie as Dr. Karen, Les, myself, as the Hungry Reaver, and everyone as the Reaver Chorus.
There are a lot of innocent people in the air being killed right now.
You have no idea how true that is. I know the secret. The truth that burned up River Tam's brain. The rest of the verse is going to know it too, because they need to.
Do you really believe that?
I do.
Are you willing to die for your belief?
No, are you insane?
But
Tell you what, let's just make friends and walk away. There's no need for all this aggravation.
I can't let you broadcast that tape.
What, this old thing? It's just a bunch of reruns of Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Wave. I was going to watch, that's all.
Well then, give the tape to me.
And miss all that Captain Hammer action? No way.
That tape contains River Tam's secret. I know, Mr. Universe told me.
Oh, him? He was just joshing. He's always fooling around. He's just having this little joke.
He told me you can't stop the signal. He was wrong, of course. I killed him.
What would you do a thing like that for? He was just playing a little game is all. You know, can't stop the signal? And what does that even mean anyway?
What were you doing on Miranda?
No, you got that part wrong. We weren't on Miranda. We just got lost is all. Why don't we just kiss and make up?
I still want River Tam.
Oh, wait. That's she over there. Of course, that wasn't exactly plan A.
Oh, man, sorry, there's a band then.
Bang.
Of course, that wasn't exactly plan A. Okay, then. Now let's broadcast this tape.
Whirly, click. Good work, everyone. That's fantastic.
If I can do this dramatically now. I have to be quick. About 1/10 of the population has had the opposite reaction to the packs. Their aggressor response increased beyond madness. They have become...
Bang.
No.
Oh, sorry, Crash.
Well, they've killed most of us. And not just killed, they've done things.
Rides across the nation, the thoroughbred sin. He's got the application
that you just sent in. It needs evaluation, so let the games begin. A heinous crime, a show of force, a murder would be nice, of course. Bad horse, bad horse, bad horse, he's bad. The evil leader of reavers is watching, so beware. We'll roast you in a battle, you just like tartar. We make the bad horse people to step into our lair. Get the saddle up, there's no recourse, it's hi-ho soar.
Yum dinner.
Now that was plan A.
The end.
Wow. That actually went well.
That's because we rehearsed it all night long.
I think your standards are shifting a little.
Night and day.
I mean, given the complete road crash. that
Oh,
was
right.
expected to be.
We haven't rehearsed it. We're just that good.
And the audience knew that, I could tell.
Yeah.
But you guys are fantastic.
Give yourself a.
I have been practicing my ego all my life.
But, Kari, you need to get your head around literally crash and bang. They're written quite differently.
I
Crash,
didn't
bang,
go
boom.
to college for that.
Crash, bang, boom. There were no booms.
No, there weren't any booms. What were the booms?
There was no booms in the script.
Post-production.
Oh, post. Gotcha.
We
It's going to sound so much better on the recording.
I hope so.
Would you like a boom now?
Ooh, can we do a boom?
Can we do a boom?
Can we do a boom? Everybody?
Okay.
2, 3. Boom! Oh, that was pretty good.
Yay!
Okay, great.
Right?
That
Happy?
made my morning, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Go on.
Are you done talking?
Yeah, I'm done talking.
Okay, great.
Are you
All
sure?
right. All right. Kara? You're going to get your chance to talk. Because coming up next, because this is our final live episode and it's our final season, we are going to take this time for our returning crew members and our existing crew members to take a minute or two and just talk about what their favorite part of being part of the Signal has been for the last 10 years. So we will start with Kevin.
No pressure. Well, I've got a couple of memories that really cemented for me. I had heard about DragonCon for many years and considered coming, but I didn't know anybody who came to it. I didn't know if I'd fit in or what have you. I've been a lifelong geek, and I don't have many geek friends in my, shall we say, real world. So I had known about it, and then I joined the Signal crew in the summer of 2005, shortly, like 1 or 2 episodes after the show started. And I found out that a lot of the Firefly cast were going to be here in 2005, shortly before Serenity came out later that month. And Carrie and Les mentioned they were going to come to the con. So I'm like, well, if there was ever time to do it, let's do it. So I came to DragonCon and didn't know a soul. I had never even met the two of them, never even talked to them. We just through emails. And I remember we met up in the lobby of the Hyatt that first day of con. We said that's where we were going to meet. And to talk about, as many of you know, coming to con, overwhelming. It was great to get a chance to meet them, and then we got together with some other podcasters. Didn't really know them, but met them. And then after we were chatting in the room, we mentioned that, one of the Firefly panels is going to start. And we didn't know anything about lines. Thought, it's a few minutes ahead of time. We'll get down, no problem. Got down there and saw this line about, as many of you know, a million miles long. And Swoopy was with us from Skepticality. And as we're starting to walk the line, she goes, "Signal crew here, Signal crew." And all of a sudden, everybody was letting us in and cut the line. And it was just the Browncoats, and them being willing to do that was just an amazing experience right off the bat. It was such a great introduction to the con, and the Browncoat fandom, again, just showing how wonderful they were. And the other great memory I have to share was early on when we first started doing these live shows. Kerry really wanted us to rehearse. We had to get together multiple times at the con ahead of time to review scripts and to review our game plan. I remember sitting in hallways going over things. We had to be like, this finely tuned machine. After a couple of years, she was like, "Nah, we just get there and show up and do it." So it was just a lot of fun just hanging out and being friends and doing stuff like that. It's just been an amazing ride.
How much did we rehearse for today?
We spent the whole DragonCon. We only did a single panel, 4 days straight. We flew in early on Thursday and just rehearsed the shit out of it.
Yeah, no, this is all completely rehearsed. Clearly rehearsed.
Even our ad hoc banter right here.
Right, yeah. We wrote this down and we practiced this hours.
But Kevin, weren't we kind of the drug that pushed you over the edge too? Because you're doing 57 panels at Dragon Con and run 8 podcasts now.
Well, both the Signal and that first year at Dragon Con got me totally hooked. I mean, I now do multiple podcasts in the geek genre. I think this weekend I'm speaking on 12 panels, 5 different tracks. I watch a lot of shows, love geekdom, and it is just such a rush to do something like this with other geeks and be able to talk to them, meet new panelists, meet new folks in the audience. So yeah, every year I volunteer for a lot. So the only downside is I don't have as much time to hang out with folks, a lot of the times it's passing in the hallway. But I just love that rush of getting involved and meeting new folks. I mean, the con to me, I look forward to it 364 days a year until I get here.
Kevin, I
See you
really
when we can get
appreciate. I just wanted to extend my appreciation for your introduction to newbies to the con. I really appreciate that service you're giving to lots of people.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the thing. Same thing. It built out of the fact that telling so many people about the con who wanted to come, and there's so much to learn. I started up the Dragon Con Newbies group a couple of years ago, and we now do tours and a Dragon Con 101. And it was great this year. The convention officially supported us and gave us room space to do it, and published it in the Daily Dragon. So last year the tour went from a little less than 50 people to we had close to 400 shows this year.
Yeah, we actually were going somewhere, and there were lines of people, and they were being led by people with orange megaphones.
Yes.
And so there'd be one group come through, and they would stop, and they would say, "This is where the blood drive is, and this way goes to the Peachtree Center," and blah blah blah. And then they would head off, and then 5 minutes later, another group would come through, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." And another thing is you don't only have to be completely unfamiliar with Dragon Con to join the group. I would highly suggest joining it because you can offer your insights and you'll learn stuff too, things that you didn't know that other people know, and it's a really great group on the Facebook page. Their Facebook page is just great.
Yeah, I just kind of play cat herder to keep the group okay, but it's the rest of the group, 1,200 members plus, that, like Anna said, just share their experience so everybody gets to learn whether they're brand new or not. So it's another example of how great this community is.
Oh, okay. So it's my turn then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you're sitting next to Kevin. So.
Point out the obvious.
We're very linear here.
It was in the planning, remember?
Oh, it was?
Yeah, we rehearsed this.
Right, I rehearsed this.
That's why we're in alphabetical order.
Oh, we are?
Don't stop to go through the.
Oh, we're not. Okay. No, actually.
Carrie, you're an awful straight man. You're just terrible.
We rehearsed those awkward pauses too. We count.
We're really good at those.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final edited shows gave about 3 minutes long.
We're just gonna have to edit out all these really awkward pauses, like that one. No, I did that on purpose. It's the only one. Okay, so I joined the crew in when did I join the crew? Does anybody remember? I think it was 2009. Yes, ish. So 2009-ish. So I was on the crew from 2009 to about the end of 2010, 2011-ish. Everything's ish for me. And I feel like I am doing really badly at this. It's a good... Okay. I don't have any jokes.
Deep breath.
You don't have to.
Thank you. I don't have to be funny. Because I'm not. So, I was on the crew for a couple of years. I think, let's see. Actually, some of my favorite memories were before I joined the crew, because I came to Dragon Con a couple of years before I joined the crew, and came to the live shows and enjoyed those greatly, especially with all of your hard dedication to perfection and to rehearsing a lot before the show.
See, it paid off, Kevin.
I didn't notice anything. And so coming to the live crew shows was actually a lot of fun, and getting to sort of meet the cast and crew, and meeting Carrie. I actually met most of you. I met you here. And Carrie lives in the same state as me. and I met her here. So it was actually, it's been a lot of memories of Dragon Con, along with a lot of memories of the Signal. And let's see, what I think some of my favorite parts of the Signal, though, were the how to speak Chinese. I really love the how to speak Chinese. Because Craig is really polite and about telling, people who aren't there that they kind of suck at repeating the language back to him, which I always found kind of funny. And I must admit, having your very polite voice talk about excrement from an elephant, yeah, it makes excrement funny. And I don't know, what else do you want me to say? We're fixing this in post, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this will be about 10 seconds long.
Yeah, we'll get Miranda to dub over you. It'll be fine.
Miranda will dub over me. She's much better at this than I am. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to insert an awkward pause here and then throw it to Carrie.
And done. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so for me, I've been with the podcast pretty much the whole time. I think I started with the second episode, solo hosted the first episode. And for me, the podcast has been a great vehicle to just meeting people. So for whatever reason, maybe it's my upbringing, my dad was in the Army, so we moved all the time. And it just seems that since I graduated from high school and graduated from college and graduate school, I've moved a lot. And what the podcast did was, when I ended up moving from California to Oregon, I got to Oregon and I had a set of friends established with the Eugene Browncoats. And I was like, this is awesome. My friend Erin, who's sitting in the front row, we worked at the same place, and we became friends because one of the girls who was working in our department knew she was a huge Firefly fan, and says, oh my gosh, you have to meet my friend Erin, she's a great fan. And Erin comes up and goes, holy crap, you're Carrie from the Signal. And we read her email, I think, on our second show. So it was just karma, basically. So for me, that's just been the biggest benefit to this podcast, is just we come to Dragon Con and meet a bunch of people. I knew Kara and Anna and Christine from Dragon Con, but they live in Portland. And so I lived in Eugene for 5 years, knew them for 3 of those 5 years, never saw them in Oregon. It was always Atlanta. So, and now I live in Portland and we're all together and it's fantastic. But I moved to another place, and there's this set of people that are just there, and they know me through the podcast, and I don't have to feel all lonely and stuff.
Well, we also all live in the same neighborhood. Ish.
We do all live in the northern part of Portland.
Is it the Firefly neighborhood?
Yes.
Yes.
I can see her house from my house.
See, the plan is by the end of the next 2 or 3 years, we'll all be living in the same house.
Or we have a block of houses and we just dug tunnels in between
This
them.
is like the Browncoat retirement home.
Yes. It's going to be basically like habit trails. It's going to be like Dragon Con year round, only houses. Yeah, that fell flat.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any. The podcast has just been super fun, and it's been fun to be there through a lot of the changes, because, as most of you know, we change over our crew almost yearly. So to be kind of one of the old timers, it's kind of fun. It's kind of neat to have all the memories. Dragon Con's always a big part of the memories of the Signal, because the live shows are always really fun. We meet a lot of the musicians, so people like Mikey Mason and Mark Gunn and Marion Call, who's done a bunch of Serenity, Firefly type songs, and so that's always kind of fun to do, to meet those people. So it's opened a lot of doors to do with the podcast. So it's great. I don't know if I talk long enough. No, okay. You can talk a lot.
I can.
Talk a lot, Andy. Talk a lot.
So it all started when I was 10 years old. No, so
We don't know.
He's only 20 right now.
yeah, I just aged a lot. I was, was it a couple of weeks ago? It was my 5th anniversary on the Signal, so it's been 5 years. And yeah, I mean, for me, some things for the others, I've made so many friends and met so many people and done so many things I never would have done if it hadn't been for the Signal. In terms of memories and stuff, I mean, I started off on the crew doing editing, and I remember how bad some of my first bits of editing were, and that I got lots of helpful feedback from Jill and from other people.
You really don't want to see the inside of the sausage factory.
But it's good. I mean, it's all about, as we said before, we joke aside, it's about standards and quality and stuff. And there's a bar, and we try very hard within the crew to maintain that level.
Except for
Hence all the
DragonCon.
rehearsing at DragonCon.
Except for DragonCon.
No.
At the stable.
What?
So mainly just doing the sort of editing and occasionally dubious bits of voice acting. But I think my favourite moment really is a couple of years back when we did the end of year, the sort of the Christmas special thing where it was live from the con. And that came about because a few months before we were having a discussion around what could we do for the end show, and I was sort of like, hey, we could do this great idea when the crew are all like at a con, because DragonCon's really fun and we could do that as like and everyone was like, well, that's a great idea, so you go produce that then. It's like, great. So I mean, so that's for me, I really love that one because it was I think it was the last one that Anna was at and Cara, you were at for that episode, and Helen was on that one as well, and it was like a bunch of folks that was there. We had Nick back for that as well, and it was a really fun, absolute nightmare to produce. I mean, and poor Nick. I mean, I just apologise to Nick now because you should have heard the edits, because you've got Nick trying to record a tape where he's changing from being, Mr. Spall, back to the actor playing Mr. Spall, back to Austin in the audience talking about Mr. Spall, and Nick's like trying to switch between all these different lines and voices, and the edit got a bit colourful at parts. Like most people, everyone on the crew that ever edited Nick, it gets a bit colourful sometimes. I just had lots of fond memories of putting that one together and editing it and everything, and that was for me one of my favourite moments, because it was the first thing I produced, and that sort of sticks in your head. And also the fact that if you come up with a good idea, then try and get someone else to suggest it. I think it's
Why, so they get stuck with all the work?
yeah, definitely. So,
You don't have good ideas unless you're ready to take them on yourself.
yeah, that sort of comes with being on the crew, doesn't it?
Or tell somebody, hey, that idea that you had, that was great, so that they think it was their idea, and then they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I've done that before.
But no, I mean, it's been about. I mean, it's really weird. I mean, I just have memories of being away on business trips and being sat on coaches and things and stuff, travelling to and from airports and stuff, listening to the Signal on my phone and stuff, and and it's really weird going from listening to it to being part of it, and it's already strange, that whole thing. But it's been an absolute blast being part of it and getting to know these guys, and they are just a fantastic bunch of individuals, and work so hard. The amount of work behind the scenes is just insane, and I think that's part of the whole. It's 10 years, and I think we've told all the stories we want to tell, and everyone's put a lot of time and effort in. I think it's just we've got to a natural point of closure for us as a podcast, and it's one of those things that when it no longer feels like fun, it starts to feel like work, it's time to start calling it a day, and I think that's where we've pretty much got to now. So, but
I need to bring it down.
Yeah, I need to bring it down. Sorry. Hey, Les, you need to bring us all back up again now.
Okay, let's see what I can do.
Use those improv skills, buddy.
I mean, the first thing that I have to call out is just all the wonderful friends that I have made through this process. Not just everyone on the podcast, but all the people out there. So many Browncoats, so many people have come up, introduced themselves to me, have given me, I'm a semi-introverted software engineer, and I've had people come up to me in restaurants, granted restaurants around DragonCon, but still, are you Les Howard? I recognize your voice. Wow, I'm a celebrity. I can be recognized. And that's just, that's an unexpected boost to one's ego. It's a real fun kick.
Sorry, it reminds me, because it's only the third time I've been to DragonCon, the second time we came to DragonCon, when we were in that, it was in, I think it was Mark Gunn had a music podcast thing.
Firefly Drinking
No, it wasn't the Firefly Drinking Song, it was one he was doing in the Western.
Pub song?
Yeah, it was, anyway, yes, he was, anyway. And so I'm wearing my Signal t-shirt, and this woman comes up to us and she says, I'm a huge fan of the Signal, it's very great. I said, that's great, because hey, over there is Les, and there's Kerry, and there's Anna, and she's like, oh my god. It's like, we're just fans, but it's just like this whole gaggle of Signal people, and just like, and it's just really weird. It's like, we still don't get that.
Yeah, but also, I think something else that ties in very naturally with that I'm very proud of that we've accomplished is I've had many other podcasters come and tell us how we have inspired them. And we got on the podcast bandwagon pretty early, maybe a year or two in, and there wasn't,
There wasn't a lot of
shows out there, and people were still figuring it out. People were doing different formats, and there's so many other shows that people have come up and thanked me because we were their inspiration. We helped get them started and show them that they could go out and take the thing they love and make a podcast about it. And I'm so happy to have inspired, been a part of the crew and helped inspire all that.
I don't know how true it is, but I like to think that a lot of these fan casts that are out there for all these different shows, we kind of started the ball rolling on that particular front. Because I think when we started, most of the podcasts were, things I listened to were
Mark Gunn.
The Celtic Music News was probably the first one.
Techie stuff out there.
A lot of tech stuff. Oh, remember the whole, what was it, Tech Geek or This Week in Tech, and they were like, we're so perky. Are the perky hosts of the Signal.
And
that was in the script. It said to be perky.
I love you had to be scripted to be told to be perky.
Yeah.
Actually, The Signal was the first podcast I listened to.
Wow.
That's what I heard from a lot of people.
It was the very first one in 2006? Yeah, 2006. It was the first one. I heard, let's see, I think I started at the with your first holiday special, I think it was,
And
where
you
you
stuck
had.
around?
I
Those are
know.
crazy.
That was kind of a nutty podcast. You are lucky, people. No. So that was the first one that I listened to, and from there it was off and running to the races on other podcasts. But I listened to The Signal primarily for quite a while.
Yay.
You're welcome.
Another memory that just sticks in my mind from my time with the podcast was the interview we did for the first Firefly fan film, Mosquito.
Oh, Nathan Town.
Yeah.
We recorded it in the basement of the Hyatt.
We just looked for a quiet
We found
hallway.
a quiet corner, pulled out our microphones, started recording.
People walked
It
over
was
us.
a blast.
That was fun.
If you haven't seen Mosquito, go out there and see it. It's like a 10-minute short, and it's hilarious. When Ron Glass called me when I was at work, that was a pretty good moment.
The fact that I had to drink whiskey to interview Adam Baldwin.
Yeah.
I had to have 2 shots of whiskey before we got on the phone with him. I can't do this. It's so perfect.
First season, we managed to get 5 or 6 of the main crew
Yeah.
celebrity interviews, and talk about being outside my comfort zone. But I've been reaching
Have fun,
out.
Kara.
I've been reaching out to their people, trying to set up connections, and I hadn't really made that much connection with Ron Glass's people yet. And then suddenly I got a call on my cell phone from a number I don't recognize, and I pick it up, and he's like, "Hi, this is Ron Glass." I'm like, "Hello, Mr. Glass." I was walking around a server room. I was not prepared for that on my phone.
I had to sit down.
And I'm going to wrap it up with one final reminiscence.
Good. Greg's sitting over there, I gotta talk.
Getting the opportunity to play Harry. I really enjoyed that. I feel it's the only voice that I have when I'm trying to do a different voice. I'm glad he gave it to me. I still don't find that many opportunities to use it, but I got it here in case I do. On to you, Craig.
Thanks very much. That was that was a great memory. I'd almost forgotten about him. I was very pleased. I think what got me pointed toward the signal was I wrote an email in, or I did an audio email, and I think Carrie said, "Oh, and if you ever want to do some voicing on the signal, you really are welcome to do so." Well, I sort of have to take that because then I applied to come here, and I had come to DragonCon. I can honestly say I'm not sure what brought me here because I live in California and it's a little bit of a schlep, but just
pulling out 3,500 miles.
Yeah, it's not that. Well, I mean, we got people, and then of course coming. Yeah, right. Okay, now it's journey envy or whatever. I don't know, distance envy. But I also was not familiar. I hadn't been coming, so I came to DragonCon and saw the live show here, and attended a couple of podcast panels, and learned about this world. And then when the opportunity or the invitation came, then I thought I'd do it. And I do work. I'm a volunteer at a local public radio station in our town in Arcata, California, and I have some editing. I have speaking skills. I have editing skills, and I also know I do some DJing and some announcing. And so I thought it was a good fit, and I felt very welcome. And then when I sort of got the list of the types of work and jobs and how you do things, that was a little intimidating. And then getting the sort of, what should we call them, very forceful suggestions of how to conduct yourself and how to do certain things from certain parties, then I really sort of straightened up and realized what I had to do, and it was a great experience, a wonderful learning experience in the podcasting world, and I'm just glad to have had the opportunity to do it and meet all these people and come here, and it's very, very rewarding. I had to say that getting a parsec was a great. It's still on our piano, and I just feel really great. And listening to anything written by Helen Eden was just a huge reward for me, and taught me a lot about writing, and taught me a lot about creating things that are specifically audio content as opposed to literary content.
I remember the year we lost our audio for the live show, and we only had the audio because Craig was in the front row recording the whole thing. So
Which
that
I didn't
was
do this one time.
right. This one time, so don't lose this one.
Yeah, this one right here is a classic.
Yeah, part of the memories of the live show is for several years Craig was right there in the front row, videoing, and that's how we knew who he was when when we needed somebody and he applied, and it was great.
Right, I forgot about that.
For me, well, my first exposure to the signal was actually, so Kara and I used to work together, and I would hear her talking about the Signal podcast, and it was kind of like, I should listen to that. And then she and I came to DragonCon, and she was like, well, I'm going to the Signal Live, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. So I came along with her, and we were sitting in the room, and there were all these fans, and they were super excited, and then the whole panel was up here, and they were doing interviews, and Kara kept winning prizes because Wayne Hutchinson was doing trivia, and she's like, "Oh, I know that, it's the day of the Triffids," or whatever.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, And then Scott Alley was here, and he kept looking at us weird, like, I recognize this, because Scott Alley lives in Portland, and we had seen him around at different events, and he kept staring at us, and I was like, Kara, he keeps looking at us, like, I think I recognize those people, but I don't know why. And that was fun. And then, but after I heard the panel, that's when I started downloading the show and listening to it, and really enjoying it. And I liked it because it was really, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do, the signal is unlike the majority of them out there. The majority of them out there are like talk shows where you're just sitting and listening to some people talking about various subjects, which is fine, but none of them are as highly produced as the signal, with series and segments and different recurring things, and it was a lot of fun to hear that different take on podcasts. And one of the things that Kara and I ran into was at different conventions, they would do a podcasting panel on how to podcast or whatever. And every single one of the panelists was somebody who was on one of those chatty podcasts. And I thought, you guys are not getting a whole entire different perspective on this, where you can actually do it like a variety show where you have different interesting things happening, and they don't show up in every episode, but they come back in 2 episodes or something. So and that was kind of a frustration for me, like there's this whole other world of really well made shows out there that are produced and actually have a production schedule and this whole thing. And so in the end of 2007, they put out a call for crew members, and I applied. And when I got the email welcoming me to the crew, I jumped out. I worked in a cube. I jumped out of my cube and ran down to Kara and was like, I got in. I was so excited, and it was amazing just writing this stuff for the show. And then they needed a producer, and I said, well, I'm going to take that on. I'm going to try that out. Whoa!
For those of us who have done the producing,
your production of a show is 3 weeks long, and it is intense. And if you're a producer, and Angie knows this, you have to be on your writers constantly. You have to be on your schedule constantly. You have to be checking to make sure that people are getting things done. You're sending out emails constantly. Where are these edits? They were supposed to be in a day ago, and they're not here yet. Okay, I'll get to, you are, that's what producing is. It's staying on top of people and making sure things get done on time. And like Craig, one of the coolest moments was winning a Parsec, and it's just, the whole thing has been this amazing experience that actually I realized that I'm really good at putting things together and keeping on top of people. Like that's actually a skill I have. And just another thing that you learn is that creativity isn't just this moment of lightning striking. It's actually work. You have to actually put work into it. And just amazing experience. I've met so many wonderful people. It's, all these people, I'm running into them constantly at DrawingCon or just via email or just, whatever. It's really awesome to be in touch with all of them and to know what's going on with them. And one of the fun things is telling people when I was working on the Signal, like, I work on a podcast. We're an international crew. We have people in the United States, we have people in Australia, we have people in England, we have somebody in Tanzania. That was, because Helen, and that actually I wanted to bring that up, is Tanzania, for crying out loud, they didn't have electricity for 12 hours out of the day for a lot of times, and she still got her stuff written and recorded and edited and turned in. Like, it's just amazing.
And her stuff had the best background noises.
I know.
Yeah, trust me, if you edited Helen's stuff, like, we've got to stop now, like the noise of the rain on the tin roof, and
yeah, just amazing. And a lot of the ideas that she came up with to share were because she had to take hour-long bus rides to places, and she's like, I was listening to this, and I thought it would be fun to talk about what it's like to just listen to the show and not actually watch it. And just, can you imagine? I just can't even, it blows my mind. It just blows my mind. Anyway, the whole experience of working on the Signal was just a joy. Okay, let me rephrase that. It was a lot of work, and it was worthwhile. That is what it's totally worthwhile. Yeah.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left. So if anyone's got any questions, anything they want to ask at all.
We'll also take statements.
We'll also take statements.
Checks. Yeah.
Checks. If you want to give us those nickels back.
Okay, so I guess we are carrying on a Dragon Con tradition.
And crickets.
Yes.
We wanted our own awkward pause.
Mission accomplished.
Insert
Monday
audience
morning. Thank
awkward
you all for
pause
coming.
here.
Oh, wait.
No, it's usually really
Is
is
it
usually
PS?
just
Yeah, it
crickets.
really is
Yeah.
usually just, yeah.
It's really.
It's just silence. We all just kind of sit here for a minute.
I even
Take it
wrote
all
on
in.
the. I even wrote
Oh,
on
look.
Oh,
Outstanding person.
oh my gosh.
That make you nervous.
Hello, I'm Howie. And
Hi.
I'd like to thank you all for the 10 years. It's been amazing. I've been listening since the beginning.
Oh, wow.
And like Les said, you did inspire me to become a podcaster.
Great.
So I appreciate that.
Awesome. What's your
Yeah,
podcast?
What's your show?
The Quantum Leap Podcast.
Oh, nice.
So thank you very much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
Do not open the floodgates.
Testimony.
Okay.
Well, it's 100% more than.
We've seen a 100% increase in.
Previous years.
Yeah.
So
Monday on day 4.
I'm gonna go home
Right.
and fit, I'm gonna go home and fit a curve to that.
but thank you all for listening to us.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh,
I have
thank
one
you.
more thing.
Okay.
I first met Les at, we had a bar camp for podcasters here in
Yes.
Atlanta. And I was doing a Rocky Horror Picture Show themed podcast. And we were trying to get all the Firefly people to play parts in Rocky Horror.
I remember because you had that thing you did where you did like the fantasy casting of Rocky
Right.
Horror. You put it into different genres. Who would you put in as
Oh, that's-
Rocky?
That's awesome.
And we were trying to do James Bond villains, but the guy never showed up. But that's how we met.
I remember that. That was a lot of fun.
No?
I remember
Yeah, I miss that podcast a lot.
we stole a conference room in a corner of that center and just did our 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to wonder who we would have as Rocky Horror in the Rocky Horror Picture Show from like Firefly. Like who would be
We
who?
can't open that discussion?
We
We're out
can't.
of time.
Oh no!
It's 11 o'clock.
Darn.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Yay.
We gotta get a group picture of this group.
Did
We gotta get some, can we get
Did
some
we get a group
pictures?
picture? No,
Yeah,
did,
do
Of us or of them?
we got group pictures.
Yeah.
Yes. Great.
Send group pictures.
We should all stand closer together. to
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
it.
Oh.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Is there anybody to a panel?